What is up, pinball fans? These are the tips that are going to take you from intermediate level to advanced level in pinball competitions, and what I mean by that is if you are someone who finds yourself just falling short of making the A finals every single time there's a tournament, or you're always an edge case and you find yourself sweating, you have to work really hard at the end of the tournament to potentially make A, and you're always under a lot of stress, this video is for you. I know that there's a lot of tip videos out there for pinball that are catered towards newer players, mostly flipper skills and how to regain control, that sort of thing. All well and good, very important knowledge to have, especially if you're just starting to make the game less random. But I do find that players reach a certain wall at a certain point where they feel like they're doing everything they know correctly, but they just can't beat some of these people putting up giant scores, and game knowledge is a big part of that. But the other part of that is you're not done learning your skill sets. You have more tools that you could be adding to your skill set to make you a better player situationally. Pinball is all about reacting to situations, and if you have a situation that you don't know what to do, obviously the person that does know what to do is going to perform better than you. So this is just going to give you some tools to really put yourself out there and make sure that you're juicing the game for as much as you can, staying alive for as long as possible. There is one flipper skill in here, but the rest of these are actually just information-based tools that you can bring into your pinball games. Some of these you might know. It's not necessarily all like only the pros know this kind of info, but it is something that you should start considering more as you go into these bigger tournaments. So let's get into it. First tip of the day is going to be about flipper staging. All moderns and most games of other eras, you're able to dictate whether or not you activate both the lower and the upper flipper, or just the lower flipper. The flipper buttons trigger the bottom flipper immediately when you push it, but then the upper flipper is only triggered with a full press. I usually consider it like the halfway point is where the upper flipper decides to be down or up. Why is this important? Pretty much, it's just that if you're cradled up in the multi-ball, and you need to take a shot that's behind one of the upper flippers, you can still stay cradled on the side that upper flipper is on the bottom, but then drop the top so that you can take that shot behind it. Very important if you're trying to stay in control and not just drop all your balls and go crazy when you need to take that one important shot. A lot of games are built around that too. Tron comes to mind, where in order to, if you're cradled up in a multi-ball, which that game is all multi-balls, you want to drop that that upper left flipper sometimes in order to get to the left orbit, or in order to just hit the orbit shot in general when the ball's coming from that left orbit, because that's a big part of the game, and in multi-ball you still want to be hitting those combos. You're gonna need to get used to the feeling of half pushing a button. We're very used to just leaning forward on the machine when we're playing and not really considering any of that. It takes practice just like any other skill. It's one thing to have all the balls cradled and then drop the upper flipper and take a shot. It's another thing to do it on the fly if the balls are flying all around, and you see the pros do this all the time, and to me it's one of the most impressive things that any player could do on the fly. Up next, we have an information-based tip. This is what I'm going to call trigger-based draining. On many games, if you plunge and you drain without triggering anything on the playfield, you'll get the ball back into the plunger lane completely safely, and it'll be as if you didn't plunge at all. This is hugely useful for specific games where the skill shot is very important. Sometimes you'll even be able to hit a sling or two, and it'll still give you the ball back in the plunger lane without activating ball save, which is incredible. So based on that, it's not actually just for skill shots. Sometimes you can light plunge, get control of the ball before the ball save even activates. And if it's a game where you have to take a risky shot, games I'm thinking of right now are Game of Thrones, right? You light plunge that, and then you want to hit either the left or the right stand-ups, both very risky shots. Now you have a shot at it without even activating the ball save. You already have the ball controlled in a cradle, so you can take that free shot at it. If you miss, it's not that bad, because at least the ball save will activate right then and there. You have more time to regain control, and you get to hit the things that you want to do and get a free ball save out of it. Third tip I'm going to talk about is air defense. We don't just cradle a multi-ball to slow the game down, it also gives you a defensive resource. If you're cradled and another ball is trickling straight down the middle, you can actually use the cradled ball to bash into the ball that's falling down the middle, and it saves that ball from an immediate drain. Control is key in any game. In multi-ball, while you have ball save, you'll be going a little crazy, but it is very, very important to have at least one ball cradled whenever the other ball is wily. That way you have something that could, maybe save your game, save your multi-ball at the end there. Something to note is that bashing that ball with the cradled ball does put both balls out of control. So make sure to regain a ball cradle ASAP, you know, just in case you need to do it again. I do think that 1 ball definitely going out versus 2 balls maybe going out. I'd prefer the second, but you know, you're gonna have some bad situations where you might get some bad drains from that. But either way, at least you're giving yourself an opportunity to keep a multi-ball going, especially if it's a high-scoring multi-ball and you don't want to leave it. And finally, we're gonna talk about upper flipper defense. In games where you don't want to utilize the upper flipper, very common trend in a lot of modern games, the shots could be too dangerous. You can still give that flipper a purpose. If you're holding the upper flipper, it gives the ball a safe descent sometimes. Some Godzillas are really good for this. If the left ramp reject feeds to the left sling, that could be all kinds of bad business. So instead, sometimes I'll test out if holding the upper flipper and having the ball bounce off of it and to the right actually returns to a flipper safely. Other things that you can use for it, it's a physical obstacle for the ball. So in a game like Baywatch, the upper right flipper isn't very useful because you can just take the same shots from the bottom flipper and it's less horizontal. But that upper right flipper is actually right above the right out lane. So it protects the ball from falling out sometimes. Another game, maybe 8 Ball Deluxe, I think has a situation where that upper flipper can be very dangerous because again, it sends you horizontal. But you can use it as a way to get a return to flipper very easily. So those are my tips for intermediate players to reach the advanced level. These are probably tips that you've heard of before or conceptualized before, but if you've already internalized all of the basics, all of the regular flipper skills, these are some things that you should start considering as you go into your bigger games, because having the knowledge and actually activating it when you're playing are 2 completely different things. So if anything, I want this video to be a refresher for you to go into a game and think about these things actively, so it becomes something that's regular for you, like the other skills are. That's going to be the thing that brings you into the top echelon of players. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Please hit the subscribe if you want to see more of this. Thank you so much, and I'll see you around.